For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable. It's kind of, this is kind of like an aspect of a dream coming true. When I was a kid, all of us as actors, I believe, want to get back to that day before someone told you no. When you look out your door and you see a 5-year-old kid with a stick and he's slaying dragons to save the princess in the tower, that kid really believes there are dragons out there. That stick is really a sword and he's really trying to save that princess. And then one day somebody told him, no, there are no dragons, that's not a sword, and that princess is not there. And all of his little dreams were dashed. So, as an actor, I feel like our job is to get back to the day where we see that dragon and we slay that dragon to save that princess. And that's kind of what this movie was for me.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Hollywood actor Anthony Mackie, who I believe is woke on racial issues, okay? And I think that causes him to say a lot of very, very, very stupid things, okay? Like, for example, that Captain America is not about America, right? It's like, well, the character's name is Captain America. But again, guys like this, low-key, they believe that they're victims, even though their success in and of itself is proof that they're not victims, okay? I mean, a lot of these guys believe they have more talent or that they deserve more than they actually do. But regardless, he doesn't say all stupid things, even though he says a lot of stupid things, because on the Pivot podcast, he said some stupid things that we're going to talk about here today. But he also said something that I think is worth highlighting about masculinity, okay, that probably pissed off the feminists. Take a look.
I keep my boys humble. Like, my boys have never had a pair of Jordans. My boys don't do all that internet fly shit. I'm like your kids. And no, I don't give a I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid. Mm-hmm. Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, he gonna straighten the other ones out. Mm-hmm. So it's just that thing of, in the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities, for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. Right. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open a door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always, since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. Mm. You make sure these doors are locked every night, this alarm is on, you text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing.
Right.
You can have all the celebrity in the world, jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing.
Yeah.
So you got to have a little guard in there, And so for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different.
Yeah, so while I think he's 100% spot on about masculinity, you know what they say about a broken clock, right? You know what they say about a broken clock, okay? Because Anthony Mackie here, when it comes to his other take about how success is given, not earned, I don't agree with it at all. And of course, the race hustlers are taking what this black actor is saying, and they are trying to now say, okay, see, this is what we're talking about when it comes to racism in America and how we're victims, right? How we can't succeed or that we can't make it to the top because we're black, right? Again, this is kind of the message that's being put out there, and I think that this message is extremely unproductive. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and respond to this message here from Anthony Mackie. Let's get into it.
Anthony Mackie says, we are lying to our kids. Success is given, not earned. Here it is.
I've been in the business 24 years, right? And I've seen people go from nothing to the biggest stars in the world. I've seen people go from one role to winning Academy Awards and doing all this. And what I realized yesterday thinking about it, we're lying to our kids, dog. And I think that's a big problem in our community. We tell our kids that and this is fresh on my heart, like I literally just came to this conclusion last night. We tell our kids if they do right and they make the good grades and they go to the programs and they will become successful. If you work hard enough, your work will be paid off. And that's not true. Success is given. It's not earned. Because you can be the most brilliant. If one person don't tap you, each one of y'all. There were people who could hit harder, who could catch better, who could run faster. But somebody said, you're the one. And the other 50 behind you fell off.
Put it up full mass. Let us discuss. Captain America star Anthony Mackie went on the Pivot podcast this week, and his comments about achieving success has gone viral, with many online arguing that he has a strong point, and I concur. In the field that Mackie works in, the movie industry is notorious for paying people of color much less than their white counterparts. Inequality stemming from racism is deeply rooted in the entertainment industry. In 2018, Chadwick Boseman starred in Marvel's Black Panther. He was paid $2 million for a starring role. However, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans made over $20 million for their roles. And we all know how big Black Panther was, right?
Yeah, so this is why I want to respond to this specific video here. Because, again, a lot of this stuff is just silly, right? What they do is that they put stuff up like this. Well, Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, he only got paid $2 million, and he's black. But Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, who are white, the white man, they made over $20 million, right? It must be racism. There's no other explanation except just basic common sense, right? Just basic logic would lead you to analyze this situation and say, wait, hold on. Who was Chadwick Boseman before Black Panther? Who was he? Nobody knew who he was. He was not a major actor. But in 2018, at the making of Black Panther, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans were superstars, right? They basically were household names. So that is why there's a pay disparity, because the black actor was not well known, okay? The first time I watched Black Panther, that's the first time I've ever seen Chadwick Boseman. I had no clue who he was, right? But I had already seen Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. I knew who they were long before I knew who Chadwick Boseman was. So again, you have two white actors who bring in more of an audience, who are more popular, who are going to make more money than the black actor because they've been doing it longer, right? They have more of a larger fan base, okay? They're going to bring in the viewership. Now, Chadwick Boseman became a superstar after Black Panther, and had he not died, unfortunately, then I believe that he would have gotten paid a lot more for his future roles. I think everybody agrees that, okay, yeah, he was a star, right? But again, you know, the race hustlers, they just can't do that basic thought exercise, okay? And it's very frustrating because these people claim to be intellectual and smart, right, and critical thinkers. But they refuse to use critical thinking when it comes to analyzing why there may be a pay disparity and trying to figure out what is causing it outside of racism, right? Because again, this is easy to explain without having to come to the conclusion of, well, it must be racism. But again, for whatever reason, these critical thinkers can't do that.
Right. We've had multiple actors and actresses on this program, on Indisputable, talking about the same thing, the inequity of pay, and how the inequity of pay goes beyond just television. It goes into all permeations of entertainment. And I know that Sharon Reed could talk about this as well because she's in that industry too. National Partnership research shows that black actresses typically make just 64 cents on every dollar white non-Hispanic actors make. Black women directors and producers make just 68 cents compared to their white non-Hispanic men counterparts. Even though these gaps are within an occupation, they are nearly as large as the overall gaps for black women. So let's go to other fields. Let's contextualize it in a different way over nearly the past decade. Black women have been overachieving in the classrooms, according to a report by the National Center of Education Statistics that was released in 2020. Most recent year, the data was made available. While education may be soaring to new heights for Black women across the United States, pay disparities continue to haunt the community and even those with the most impressive qualification. On average, Black women earn roughly 38% less than white men every single year.
Okay, so we've already been over why the gender pay gap is a myth, okay? We already know that a lot of this is explained by the fact that women tend to go into fields and careers that pay less, okay? They tend to not negotiate their salaries, okay? They tend to actually work less as well too, right? Again, all of this is explained by behavioral differences, to be honest with you. But again, the race hustlers automatically come to the conclusion of, well, it must be racism, right? So I'm just playing this clip to show you guys how the race hustlers are connecting the dots in regards to what Anthony Mackie said, okay? Because what they want to do is that they want to put out this narrative that as a so-called Black person, as a so-called person of color, it doesn't matter how hard you work, that you're not achieving success due to the fact that, hey, society's racist and success is given, not earned, right? It is a myth to tell your kids that if you work hard, if you put in the work, if you do what you're supposed to do, if you do all the right things, that you're going to achieve success. And I very much disagree with that. I very much disagree with what Anthony Mackie said. I'm going to tell you guys why I disagree with it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you truly are working hard and you are putting in the work, you are going to achieve some degree of success. Does that mean that you're going to make it to the top, right? Does that mean that as an actor, especially in a field that is more subjective, okay, like, you know, being an actor, does that mean that you're going to make it to the very, very, very top? Not necessarily. But if you put in the work and you have the talent, then it is likely that you're going to achieve at least some level of success, that you're going to be successful. This is why I always tell people that you should shoot for the stars and land on the moon. Why do I say shoot for the stars and land on the moon? Well, because the stars should be your goal, right? But in some cases, a lot of cases, you're going to land on the moon, which is still pretty damn good, right? And that is what happens to a vast majority of people that work hard, right? Everybody can't be the CEO, okay? Only one person can be the CEO. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to compete to be the CEO. And who knows, there may be somebody that becomes CEO that you feel is not as qualified as you, right? But regardless, you are, I don't know, still an executive, right? Maybe you are the CFO, right? Maybe you become the COO or you're some type of senior manager. That's still success, right? You still achieve success, okay? But for whatever reason, people interpret not reaching the stars, right, and landing on the moon as some type of indicator that, well, it doesn't matter how hard you work, that you just can't achieve success, especially in a racist society like this, because success is given, right? They're just giving opportunities to the whites and nobody else. It doesn't matter how hard I work as a Black person. It's like, well, a East African, right, half East African man became president of the United States. What are you talking about, right? Everybody can't become president. Yes, there are some people that are going to go out there and they're going to campaign super hard, right? They're going to work their asses off to become president, right? But they're still not going to become president just due to the circumstances of what it takes to become president of the United States. However, that individual that campaigns hard, that is working hard, well, they're probably likely going to be a rep. They're likely going to be a senator. They're likely going to get some other position that still qualifies as being successful, okay? In this society, just because you work harder, that doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get the position, right? Or just because you're more qualified. That is an unfortunate reality. But that doesn't take away from the importance of hard work that goes into being successful, okay? Because if you don't work hard and you don't get good grades, if you don't put in the work, then you're less likely to be successful, right? You decrease your chances of being successful, okay? The harder that you work, the more that you put in, then you're increasing your chances of being successful, of reaching the top, but it's not a guarantee, right? It's not guaranteed. And I'll give you guys a more personal example. I feel like for the most part, you know, when it comes to other conservative channels, I feel like there are not many channels that work harder than I do, right? And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but there are channels out there that are piggybacking off of my work, and they have more subscribers than I do. Now, do I sit around and boohoo, whine, and cry about it and complain? Oh, it doesn't matter how hard I work. I don't have over 1 million subscribers like those guys, right? No, I don't complain about that because for the most part, I feel like I'm pretty successful. And I'm pretty successful because of my work. But I'm not going to sit around and boohoo, whine, and cry about other people being, quote unquote, more successful than me because I feel like I earned it more than they did. No, I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to continue to do me and to do my thing. Because ultimately, in the day, I do realize that I have achieved success that a vast majority of people who start YouTube channels, who try to talk about politics, do not achieve. So again, to tell people or to say that we're lying to kids that hard work doesn't equal success or that hard work won't lead you to success just because you don't achieve the success that you think you deserve or that others are getting more than you believe they deserve, I think, again, it's just silly nonsense, right? Because again, most successful people had to put in the work. Now, some are going to have to put in more work or less work than others, right? Everybody's not going to get there the same way. But generally speaking, if you work hard, you're going to achieve some level of success, but you're not guaranteed to get to the top, right? The top is a scarce position by definition. Everybody's not going to make it. And yes, you will be passed up over for people who are less qualified, okay, or whatever, or who didn't work as hard as you because, I don't know, maybe they knew somebody, okay? But ultimately, at the end of the day, networking is a skill. That's what a lot of these people also don't realize. A lot of people are saying, well, yeah, this person got the job because they knew people, right? It's about who you know, not what you know. And I agree with that to a certain extent, right? To a certain extent, I definitely agree with that because I have been in corporate America and I know how much of a slob fest it is when it comes to trying to network your way to the top. But ultimately, that's just what it is, right? Like networking in and of itself is a skill, right? You have to work on being able to talk to people. You got to work on being able to communicate in order to get to the top. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's unfair. I'm just saying everybody has different skills, okay? And who knows? Some people are good at doing the actual job. Some people are not so good at doing the job, but they're good at networking. And that's how they move up. It is what it is, right? But people got to understand that that's also a part of the game. That's also how you achieve success. You got to understand, okay, what goes into getting to the top. If networking is a part of it, then, hey, you got to network, right? Then you got to be networking harder than your opponent. You got to be doing things that they're not doing. And yes, there is some luck involved, but luck is when preparation meets opportunity, okay? That's just the reality of the world. You're more likely to get lucky if you are prepared, if you're putting in the work. So when the opportunity comes, you're ready to go and you can take advantage of it. So again, no, I don't think it's a good message to tell kids that success is given and not earned. Yeah, in some cases, you will have the trust fund kid, okay? You will have the Bronny James of the world, right? You'll have that happen in some situations where, you know, you have Bronny James make it to the NBA because of his father. That'll happen, which is something that these people never complain about, by the way. They'll never complain about the nepotism that is Bronny James, right? The biggest legacy and mission of all time, okay? But anyways, yeah, that happens. But a vast majority of people who are successful, who do achieve great success, especially again, if they wasn't born in it, they had to work for it, right? They had to put in the work. Yes, if you put in the work and you get the good grades, you're going to get into a good university. Unless you're Asian, right? Unless you're Asian, you might get denied from all the elite universities, right? No matter how hard you work. But again, that's a very rare thing, okay? That was a news story about an Asian guy that basically got denied from everywhere, okay, because of his race. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but again, you know, it is a very rare thing. But he still got offered a job at Google right out of high school, right? Even though he got rejected by 16 colleges, he still got a job offer at Google, right? So even in the face of discrimination, the free market, right, said, hey, this guy is deserving. Therefore, we're going to give him a job. Again, that's generally how it works, right? That's generally how it works, especially in a capitalistic society, especially when it comes to capitalism. That's exactly how it works. It's not perfect, but for the most part, again, if you're putting in the work, if you're deserving, okay, yeah, you're going to achieve at least some level of success. Again, there's no guarantee that you're going to make it to the top. There's no guarantee you're going to be the CEO. There's no guarantee you're going to be a billionaire. There's no guarantee that you're going to achieve the pinnacle of success, but just achieving success in general is something that is likely to happen if you put in the work, right? If you do all the right things, if you get good grades, if you do what you're supposed to do, if you discipline yourself, if you have a plan, you're going to achieve success. Your chances of achieving success go up a lot, okay? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.